Hi,
I have the
Professor.
wrong. Yeah?
Hi. So today I'm going to be talking about plant-based diets, about a study from Harvard Health. Excuse me. Harvard Health says plant-based diets are best, or are they? So it essentially goes into what the popular plant-based diets include. It talks about the vegetarian diet, no meat, vegan diet, and the pescatarian diet. And essentially goes on to say a new study published says vegetarians and vegans may have increased risk of stroke. And it says higher rates of heart disease, rates of stroke were 20% higher among vegetarians. However, the overall risk was small, equal to 3 extra cases per 1,000 people over 10 years. It says if confirmed, these findings will complicate the way we look at plant-based diets. So I thought what was good about this article is that it says beware the study's limitations. So
Okay.
it says that the study was observational, meaning it just followed a few people on different diets over time without being able to account for every other relevant factor. Like we don't know other health issues or complications these people have while they're on this diet.
Yeah.
So they said that the findings might have been different if the study had included a different study population.
Yeah.
So
Very
I
good.
just thought the claims they talked about were a bit aggressive, and it's probably not true because of the diet, but perhaps other health risks that that person has.
Okay. Very good. So there are two things. So you're right. We aren't looking at the source documents, so we don't know. Would you mind emailing that to me? I'm just
Yeah,
curious because I want to
yes, of
see.
course.
But also, what did you say at the beginning that the actual difference was 3 cases per? Did I hear that correctly?
Um, 3 cases.
Well, you said, did I make that up because I do that?
I
What
think
the
so.
difference.
I said
What I
that.
thought I was hearing was absolute versus relative risk.
Yes, I think so.
Because that's can you go back and, well, I guess I could roll the tape and see what you
No, yeah,
actually.
I think I know what you're talking about. I was just reading this statistic they provided us. It says rates of stroke were 20% higher among vegetarians. However, the overall risk was small, equal to
Right, so
three.
20% was the relative risk. So, and they're saying, but I so did I hear you say that the actual difference was 3?
It said equal to 3 extra cases per 1,000 people over 10 years.
That's nothing
Right.
over 10 years. That,
Correct.
okay, so very good, perfect. That's great. Yeah. And the other thing that they did mention, besides the fact that they're blowing up the relative risk, had to do with the fact that, they admit that they're only looking at a certain population. We don't know if they accounted for economics, socioeconomic status, education, exercise. We don't know what else they accounted for.
Yes,
So
exactly.
very good. So they're just, if you want to be a vegetarian, be a vegetarian. Don't worry about stroke. Good grief. That to me borders on irresponsible. Like somebody had, where was it published or who published it or
It
who.
was actually the medical school at Harvard. It says Harvard Health Publishing, Harvard Medical School.
Makes me think somebody had to get a publication in to maintain their status or something. I don't know, but that's just because I'm angry at that study right now. Or it could have been my computer that I'm angry at and I'm just projecting. But all right, Marissa, what do you have?
I was just looking up because something that I like to eat are like these papaya enzyme digestive pills. So I thought I would just like look up some information on that. Well, first of all, just like the health benefits of papaya in general are just that they're delicious and loaded with nutrients. They have like fiber and they have carbs and they have everything. They also have a powerful antioxidant effect, as well as this is where I started laughing when I was reading it because I was like, I'm just taking this for my digestive system, but then it was like it has anti-cancer properties. Like there's just no chance that that's true at all. So I started laughing when I saw that. But
Might
also
be in
it
a
said,
test tube.
yeah. And then it said may improve heart health and may fight inflammation, may improve digestion, protects against skin damage, which I had never heard that before. And then was delicious and versatile. So it was just like interesting that I was just taking it to kind of like help with digesting after like each meal. But then it was like, oh, it's going to help you not get cancer and help you do this and that. And I'm like, I don't think that's very true.
Okay, so can I ask you, and it's none of my business, but you brought it up. Why are you taking it after you eat?
Oh, I don't know. My aunt just told me it was good for like my digestive system after I.
Okay, and what are you taking?
They're like I have them in my bathroom. I can get them, but papaya enzyme.
So great. This is what we're going to talk about next week. Digestive enzymes. Enzymes are proteins. And actually, the protein digestion and absorption video is the shortest one. When proteins hit the stomach, they break down into amino acids. Digestion of protein begins in the stomach. So your digestive enzymes aren't even making it past your stomach to help with you digest in the small intestine where the bulk of digestion and absorption occurs. So unless they're what's called enteric coated, which means that they have a protective coating around them that resists the acid in the stomach. Keep in mind, this acid is like a pH of 2, sort of like battery acid. But we have mucus that protects our stomach, and I talk about that as well. So, but right, keep all your questions. Those enzymes aren't doing anything for your digestion. So, all right, that's good. Save a nickel. Unless she's sending them to you, in that case, tell her to save a nickel. Yeah. Except they work for her because she thinks they do. So, yeah. And you were probably working for you because you thought they did. And now I'm going to give you a stomachache when you eat. I'm sorry. Myths come here to die. Scarlett, what do you have? Thank you, Marissa.
So I found this article about this diet. It's called the Sept food diet. And I thought it was a good example of how, like, celebrity endorsements kind of, they can make these fad diets that really have a lot of health issues. So what the article said is the book came out in 2017, but in the past year it started to get really popular. It was written by two people that have master's degrees in nutritional medicine. And pretty much the whole idea or the claim of the diet is you can lose 7 pounds in 7 days, which doesn't really seem like it's possible, but that's what it says. And the whole idea is that it focuses on foods that are high in polyphenols to trigger the sirtuin pathways that would impact your metabolism. And the diet's broken down into 2 phases. The first one is 7 days long, and for days 1 through 3, you have to drink like these 3 green juices that they would give you, and then you can have 1 meal. But the meal has to be with only, there's like a list of 20 food-rich foods, and it can only be with those 20 foods. So for days 1 through 3, you're only eating 1,000 calories in a day, and then days 4 through 7, you get 1,500 calories because you do 2 juices and 2 meals. And then phase 2 is 14 days long, and you do 1 juice and 3 meals. And pretty much they say to just keep repeating the 2 phases until you meet your goal weight. I just thought it was interesting because the 80% of the article was talking about all the celebrities and how it worked for them, but then the last little paragraph had all these pretty serious health issues. It can lead to vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And it said in most people, they end up gaining the weight right back because it's so drastic. And then it also said you have limited protein and fiber intake during the diet. So I just thought it was a good example of how just celebrities doing it can make something pretty dangerous, really popular.
Yeah, it's called appeal to celebrity. It's one of the many reasons people do things. And that's dangerous. And I don't know what nutritional medicine is. It could be a thing. I don't think it is, because I don't think a responsible dietitian would promote something like this. And this is also what I call the epiphany book. Oh, it worked for me, therefore it must work for everyone. And it's an example of where you have your conclusion and you create all this other stuff to wind up at this conclusion, rather than having a hypothesis and testing the hypothesis and going where the data take you. In terms of 7 pounds in 7 days, we'll talk about this. There's a difference between weight loss and fat loss, right? And it takes a long time to lose fat. And it also, to keep it off, you have to change your behaviors. But in this case, you're going on a diet, and then you're going off a diet. And the 1,000 calories, 1,500 calories, most people will lose weight on that. So, and I'm glad that at least they, had the deficiencies and stuff at the end, but who's going to read it till the end? They're going to see their celebrity, they're going to see whatever, and it's off to the races. So, okay, thank you. And Annabelle, what do you have?
Hello. So I found an interesting article called Sustainable Nutrition, Challenging the Way We Grow and Eat Food. So this article focused on the idea of how current food systems is unfit for our current global population situation, and that it is important to fundamentally change the way we grow, distribute, and eat and value food. In order to do so, food businesses and governments need to focus on strategies which include sustainable nutrition systems, which can help improve human and planetary health. And I found this interesting because this can be related to the idea we reviewed in class of implementing successful and efficient sustainable diets by answering the questions of whether it is economically feasible, is it environmentally sound, and is it socially responsible? And I believe that if food businesses and governments can implement these questions into the establishment of sustainable food systems, it can help. It has the potential of resolving many of the world's urgent ecological and human challenges.
Well, could you send that to me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. I think does anybody else have any comments on these articles before I flip back for a few minutes? Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, do I have current event today? Let's see. What do I have? I just wanted to answer some of the questions that are still on the Padlets. This was my new Padlet because it was fun. Only one person posted who wants to be in Australia or is from Australia. Do you mind telling me, are you here, the person that posted this?
Yeah, that was me.
That's great.
I just don't want to be there.
You want to be there? Have
Yeah.
you ever gone?
Yeah, I went abroad last semester, but I had to come back early.
Yeah. Well, so this one up here is me in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's where I'm from. So is it true, thank you, because that's how I love how things start, that eating carbs at night helps you sleep better? So this is where there's a little kernel of truth in that for some carbohydrate digestion, absorption, metabolism may cause an increase in the production of the neurotransmitter serotonin. And for some people, that helps relax them. So is it true? Yes, but it's not a one size fits all. What kind of carbohydrate are you consuming? If you're having a glass of milk and it's part of your, relaxing nighttime routine, yes, that might help you eat better. If it's a big bowl of cereal with fruit and, all other kinds of stuff while you're watching TV and then you're jumping right into bed, not so much. So it depends. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
And then let's see. So that actually were a couple questions on the apple cider vinegar. So Scarlett, and what have you heard about apple cider vinegar? Allie and Scarlett, or whoever can. Does it actually
see things on Instagram about people drinking it every day, and I tried it once and I hated the taste, so I never did it again. But I was just wondering if it actually helped with like weight loss.
Well, if you're having apple cider vinegar and decreasing your caloric intake and increasing your caloric expenditure and changing your behaviors, then it may work. But in and of itself, no, there's nothing magical about it. Which is better from a health perspective? Whatever works for you and your lifestyle. If you're somebody who prefers 3 meals a day and that works for you, then that's fine. I eat all the time, so it's hard for me. It's what works for you and your lifestyle. Do carbonated beverages like seltzer impact health? So Allie, if you can't, I don't know if your mic is working yet, if you just want to, if it's not, what's the thing about carbonated beverages? Are you not? Does anybody? Okay, so I don't know what carbonated beverages, how they're supposed to impact health. A little self-disclosure, I can't drink bubbles because for some reason they burn my tongue. And so I just don't like them. I've had twice, I've had champagne at my 40th birthday and at my sister's wedding. And I'm convinced that after the first glass, you just don't care what it is anymore. But I don't know what the health effect is. Has anybody heard anything about the health effect of carbonated beverages?
I know there's like a little bit of like research or something that they can like harmfully affect your teeth, I think, but I don't know anything else about that.
Yeah. So what did we learn about what affects your teeth? What did we talk about affects your teeth? Cavities can be caused by carbohydrates and the bacteria in your mouth consuming those carbohydrates and producing acid. I think maybe this comes from what you're thinking of, Justin, is that there might be acid in the carbonated beverages. Is it carbonic acid or phosphoric acid that makes them? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And Pepe, what and when to eat around workouts? What have you heard?
I said that you should leave some time before workouts so that you're digested everything. But other than that, I don't know anything at all.
So we'll talk about this when we get to the information in module 4, but what to eat, what and when. So you don't want to eat something new if you're going to be performing because you don't know how your body's going to handle it. You don't want to eat really closely to when you're working out because you want to be able to have the blood flowing to your extremities so that you can exercise and not be involved in digestion, although your body is capable of doing more than one thing at a time. But carbohydrates would be what the body would prefer to use. It's the quickest source of energy. It breaks, it provides glucose more quickly than protein or fat. Is breakfast really no, we've been let off the hook for breakfast. So, and I don't know if I emailed you that or somebody else, but yeah, we've been let off the hook for breakfast. So, but I don't know, what's the first part of your question? Importance of when we eat?
Right, so like, does it matter when we eat specific times of the day? Like, is it more beneficial at a specific time? Or is there a time when we shouldn't be eating? Like maybe like right before bed?
Well, the reason why you shouldn't eat right before bed is because, and I talk about this in the videos, of reflux or heartburn. Your body digestion prefers to work with gravity. It's called peristalsis, the downward movement of the contents of your body, the muscular movement of things down the GI tract. And if you eat a lot and then you lay down, digestion will still occur, but it could irritate your esophagus. It could irritate your esophageal sphincter or the cardiac sphincter, and it can lead to heartburn. So that's why you shouldn't eat and lie down right afterwards. I don't know where the data is, but I always say 2 hours before, don't eat more than 2 hours or less than 2 hours before you go to bed. Just cause. Okay. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, wait, I had a correction. Oh, foot. I had a correction. I don't know where it is. Let's see, is it the next slide? No, it isn't. Did I tell you? Okay, only in the interest of. I had told you folks about the polyphenols. All right, I'm trying to get my. about resveratrol and how you have to drink a ton of alcohol or eat a bunch of grapes or whatever in order to get the benefit of resveratrol. I'll find the slide. I have to be corrected. I was wrong. It's not like 500 liters of wine. It's 30 bottles of wine a day in order to get a therapeutic dose of resveratrol. So I've been corrected, and I should let you know when I make mistakes and I find out what I did wrong. I need to correct the information. So I'll try to find that. Okay. So this topic was sustainable diets. And I really appreciate, Annabelle, your current event, because I would like to read more about that. I have a couple questions after I'm done presenting this information to ask you what are some of the things that you think might make a difference. And then if there's time, I have some discussion questions that I'll post for you to think about. But what I wanted to talk to you about is that part of what my understanding, and I'll go over this again at the end of the semester when I cover this topic in particular, is that there's this misconception that the way foods are grown and prepared makes them more nutritious. I don't know that I can see it when I'm in here, but has anybody ever heard that organic food or GMO food is better or worse than you? I think I need you to call out because I can't see it. So if you do, what have you heard about any of these things? Ride, what have you heard about organic food or GMO food and whether it's better for you or worse than for you?
I mean, I've just heard that organic food is just organic food is supposed to be better for you. I don't know why, but I mean, that's the common term that's been used.
Okay. Anybody else? What have you heard about GMO? Or what's unfortunately referred to as GMOs in terms of their nutritional value?
I think there's a big misconception with GMOs that they're really bad for you and there's chemicals involved, but it simply just stands for genetically modified organisms, and there's no chemicals used. It's just the rearranging of genes. So
right.
It's not as bad for you as people think.
Right. Kevin, what have you heard?
Hi, Professor. Same thing. Like, there's a misconception. Like, personally, I don't think it's bad for you, but it's just like word around town. People think it's bad for you, but it's kind of the idea of like, it's just a modification in the gene. Like, if you eat a strawberry that's modified, like, it's not going to impact your personal DNA. So it's, just a misconception.
So what I'm just going to talk about for a few minutes is some of the misinformation out there about organic food. So, that when I saw this, I had to show, you won't believe the nutrient differences between raw, frozen, GMO, and organic. You just won't believe it. And you won't because I can't show the slide. It's all the same. They're all the same, nutrient-wise. There's a group called the Environmental Working Group. Has anybody ever heard of them? Again, I need you to just say yes or no because I can't see you. Yay, nay? Anyway, every year they put out something called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. They're basically telling you which foods have the most or the least pesticides found in them. And because they have these clever names, because they have to do it every year. And they have an agenda. And they get there. So let's see, in 2019, strawberries were their #1 on the Dirty Dozen list. But I think it was a year or two before, apples are still here at #5. I want to tell you where they're getting that information from. And this is cocktail chatter for now. But when I cover it at the end of the semester under this particular topic, I will, I'll think of something I prefer you to recall from this. But for now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has a pesticide data program where they randomly test a large number of fruits and vegetables every year for pesticide residues. So what they do is they purchase samples across the country. They wash them for 10 seconds, figuring that's how much the average consumer washes them for. And then they test them for up to about 200 pesticides that are registered in their pesticide program. So let's say they've tested, at least in the year where I collected the information on apples, 1.5 million tests, 11,000 samples, only 1.4% and any residue detected, which means that the environmental working group has to go to that 1.4% to get their information. So these apples, there were 744 samples collected, tested, well, you can read it. There were only out of 140, almost 141,000 tests, they only found residue in less than 4,000. And what does that mean? What you need to remember is the presence of residue does not mean the presence of risk. How many of these tests found a residue, as I just said? Well, I'm sorry, out of the almost 141,000, only 2 found residue that was above the maximum tolerance level. Sorry, let me just go back a second. What did I say? So they found residue in 3,700 cases, but in those that were above the EPA's maximum tolerance level, 2. 2 were above. Now, we don't have information on organic produce yet because synthetic pesticides are the ones that are tested and monitored more often. There's more information on synthetic pesticides. Organic produce means they do not use synthetic pesticides. That doesn't mean they don't use pesticides. And there isn't data right now on organic residue, so you can't really compare organic to conventional produce or pesticides. But what about the pesticide residue? Again, just because it's there doesn't mean that it's going to be a problem. So I have these 2 piggy banks, and I know there's a reason that I have them. Let's see, what are they? So yes, the apples tested may have some residue on them, but it's not how much, it's not how often it occurs, it's how much there was. So why do I have piggy banks here, Leanne? Oh, because one of them has a lot of pennies, but let's say that's 50 pennies. That's only 50 cents. Okay, so there's, go with me and then we can forget this. But on the right, we have the piggy bank with 50 quarters. So there's a lot more money. I forget the pigs. Does anybody know what the piggy banks might mean? Anyway, it has to do with not that there's the frequency of it, but you want to look at how much. All right, just because it's there doesn't mean it's going to cause a problem. There are organic pesticides. I'll get to that in a second. And the thing is, we don't measure those. Organic is not safer than non-organic. Organic is as safe as non-organic. Or maybe I should, well, yes, I'm going to say that because organic has this health halo. And the thing is, organic is more expensive. And I have friends who weren't buying produce for their families because they couldn't afford organic, and therefore they are losing out on the nutritional benefit because they couldn't afford it. So this is the Dirty Dozens list from 2019. I want to show you, let's see if I can do this from here. I think I showed this at the beginning of this semester. There's this. Can you all see my browser? Or you just be able to see the PowerPoint?
We can see the browser.
Okay. So I want you to, there's this pesticide residue calculator. In the interest of making decisions based on facts, not fear. Let's see. Anybody have a good joke to tell while we're waiting? What I want to do, what this is supposed to do is take me to, all right, I'd like to have, let's see, say we have an average female, somebody pick something on this page that you like to eat, that you that you think is better because it's organic.
Oh.
All right, apples. That was the environmental working groups. Okay, a woman could consume 850 apples, servings of apples, not just apples, but servings of apples in one day without any effect, even if the apple has the highest pesticide residue recorded for the apple by the USDA. And just because, what was the other? Where's strawberries? Strawberries are up on the environmental working list group, Dirty Dozen. A man could consume 635 servings, not individual, but servings of strawberries in one day without any effect, even if the strawberries have the highest pesticide residue recorded for strawberries. So what is this calculator telling you about the amount of pesticides found that may be found in food and the risk? That it's better for you to eat your fruits and vegetables. I'm not going to. Now, when it comes to pesticides, there are organic foods may contain natural pesticides that come from natural sources. I don't know what natural means. Natural means not synthetic. Rotenone is a natural pesticide. It's been linked to Parkinson's disease. Whoops. Pyrethrins from chrysanthemums can kill insects by attacking the nervous system. Pyrethroids are a similar compound but produced in a lab. It has nothing to do with toxicity, right? It just means that it may have come from a plant as opposed to being synthesized. It has nothing to do with toxicity. Organic produce uses organic pesticides. If they use pesticides, then they are not, what makes them organic is that they don't use synthetic. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. I think that's my point. You should eat your fruits and vegetables. If you can afford the ones that you think taste better, then get them. But don't not eat them because you're worried about the pesticides. So here's what's safe. Low levels of synthetic pesticides, low levels of organic pesticides, and puppies. What's unsafe? High levels of synthetic pesticides, high levels of organic pesticides, and rabid dogs. Okay, so let's try to keep a perspective. And these are different vegetables and fruits, and they all have chemicals in them, which apparently aren't showing up on this slide, but because that's Monday. They all have natural chemicals in them that can be toxic, but those doses are very small. Can anybody guess what I'm coming up to on my next slide? Oh, not next slide. It's the user's responsibility to look at the label, but just remember to eat your vegetables and fruits. One more thing about organic versus conventional. There was a study saying that organic apples had more vitamin C than conventional apples. And it was, I think it was, let's see, this is how many organic, this is how many conventional. It was 6% more. We don't look at apples as a source of vitamin C. So it doesn't matter really that they have more. Oh, here. And then there was another study that said that organic milk had more omega-3 fatty acids than conventional milk. But you would have to drink, let's see, what was the 11 quarts of organic full-fat milk to get the same amount of omega-3 fatty acids as that found in 4 ounces of salmon. There's a reason why we don't recommend milk as a source of omega-3 fatty acids. Are organic foods healthier? No. They're more expensive. If you can afford them, you get them. What I tell folks, and we'll talk more about this at the end of the semester, if you have concerns, which is what this topic is about, see if you can buy locally, because then you can find out how is the food being grown, and you can support your local economy. And this might not be the right time in your lives to be able to do this because they tend to be more expensive. But start planting those seeds as things that you might want to be able to do. Oh, I don't have it. So somewhere in here, I had a slide or in my mind that said it's the dose that makes the poison when it comes to pesticides. Don't worry about pesticides. Okay. So which choice do you think is better for a sustainable environment? Milk from a gallon container, a sustainable diet, or milk in an 8-ounce container? Which would you recommend? Which do you think would be better?
For this, I feel like it kind of goes both ways.
That's what the discussion's about. Yes, right. So let's just, as soon as I find my mouse, and let's see what you got here. So, okay, who was saying it goes both ways? Explain that.
That was me. So basically, kind of like your presentation from last night said that milk, like you want to lower your portions. So when you get an 8-ounce container, it's going to stop you from getting a gallon of milk and kind of stopping your animal consumption. But the milk in a gallon, but also if you get the milk in a gallon container, it's going to stop the waste and the packaging. So it's kind of like, I don't know which one is better. But if you know you're going to drink the gallon and you're a big family, you might as well get the gallon. Right. But if you're a single person and you're not sure if you're going to go through the gallon, then I guess you would get the 8-ounce.
What does anybody else think? Izzy, what did you pick? Juliana? I'm looking at people whose faces I can't see right now. Jordan.
I picked milk in an 8-ounce container. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I just read the question differently, but I thought that if you have a gallon of milk that you're drinking in 8 ounces, I feel like it would just be more sustainable for you to have, like, in order to kind of portion it out better. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like if you have a gallon, you might be more tempted to just like keep drinking more and more of it. I'm not like milk's terrible for you, but like you said, the more you drink, it might not be as good.
I'm not sure there is a correct answer for this one, depending on your situation. This is where it's so difficult to make blanket generalizations on things like this. You're absolutely right. You have a family, a gallon is better for you. But if you're an individual, one person living by yourself or living with roommates and you don't drink milk, a gallon is a waste. So it depends on your situation. Let's see, what's my next one? How about a burger, whether vegetarian, I'm not asking if it's vegetarian or animal, but from a fast food styrofoam box or a homemade burger? Which do you think? Well, that's sort of anyway, which would you pick? Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'd have to go with that because I can't think of a reason for the other one. How about a salad that you get made in those plastic bags from a store? You buy a bag of it, or a salad that you make because you bought individual components? Which do you think would be a better choice for sustainable diet or, environmentally? Three, two, one. Interesting. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, but that's because that's what I want to do. What about why do you think not buying it in a plastic bag that's proportioned and maybe has 3 servings in it? Okay, I'm playing the devil's advocate. As opposed to you bought the celery, you bought the lettuce, you bought the tomatoes, and you made a salad, and then, yes. Yael.
So I was just thinking about this because yesterday I went to the grocery store and I wanted to buy carrots. And then I realized that, like, right next to the carrots that are, like, just, like, you get the actual carrot and then you put it in the plastic bag from, like, the store. Mm-hmm. Or, like, the packaged carrots. Like, I was like, there's no difference, but one is packaged and, like, wasting plastic. But then I realized I was putting it in a plastic bag anyway so that I could check it out. So now that I'm thinking about this question, like, yeah, you would want to get, like, the individual components, but I don't know how much of a difference you can really make, like, in that small choice at the grocery store.
Well, it's a small choice, but over time, it may make a bigger choice. For me, and this might be justifying my existence when it comes to salads, I have bought salad components before, made 1 or 2 salads, and then what happens is this stuff moves to the back of the refrigerator and melts. Whereas if I buy, you know, a 1 or 2 serving thing in a plastic bag, I eat it and I don't waste food. Jordan.
I don't know. I feel like the salads that I've bought in the bags, I'll open the bag and either the lettuce is like really wilted or it's not fresh.
Okay.
And so for me, I honestly prefer to just buy all the ingredients. And also, I kind of like to meal prep for the week. And so the salad in the bags, they don't always have like the tomatoes and stuff anyway in them. So you end up having to buy the tomatoes separately. So I'd rather just, and sometimes it's even cheaper to do that because you can pick the ingredients you want. So I guess for me, like I like fresher salad, so I just buy them and make them from scratch. But you guess you could argue the other one's good too, but I guess it's preference.
No, but I think that's the point. I think what I'm trying to do is at least create an awareness that there can be a difference, but with that awareness, what choice is best for you while you're making a decision about what might be best for the environment. That's we're planting those seeds. I think I might have one more. Getting a normal portion, let's say you remember eating out, or a larger portion than you can eat if you were going to a restaurant. Which is the better choice? And now as I'm thinking about it, now I'm not sure what I want to. 3, 2, 1. A normal portion or a larger portion. Okay, so for the folks that said larger, because that was my first choice, why did you say larger?
So I said larger, and I said because I was thinking because like you could take it home with you and then have it for like the next day. I know a lot of people do that, and that seems more sustainable to me personally.
Yeah. So this is where it's sort of when we talk about, you know, a diet and an individual, you know, what's best for your health versus the planet's health, which is a huge thing. Getting a normal portion at a restaurant might be better because you're not going to overeat. But if you get a larger portion and you can still confine yourself to eating a normal portion or trying to pay attention to your fullness and then take the other stuff home with you, and then you get to use it again. But then there's resources being spent in order for you to take it home, which makes me think, can I bring my own doggy bag to the restaurant? I don't know. All right, so there's no correct answer to these, by the way. These are thought questions just in terms of what's our responsibility? What's our role? So what I'm gonna do, let's see, is I'm gonna, well, no, this is what, hello. I'd like to just get a couple minutes. I'm going to put this document in the chat and I'm going to break you into groups for, well, I'm going to try to, if I can copy and paste this, and just ask you to discuss what would your definition of sustainable nutrition be? Where do you fall in that energy pyramid? And what kind of difference could you make? Or would you like to make? All right. Can you access this document?
Learn that it takes like a lot more water to, you know, make meat, or I don't know how to like produce it, I guess. And so in my opinion, I don't know if this is true, but I think that eating a more plant-based diet would be more sustainable in regards to water.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Just bouncing off of that also with like, because I took food systems too, is that it also like meat takes up a lot more land because you have to have like all the land for the cows versus like whatever other animals that you're talking about. So the water and the food are like the two things that aren't very sustainable when it comes to meat.
In the video, I talked about the energy pyramid and how when you eat lower on the energy pyramid, it uses in terms of calories and environmental, you know, in terms of carbon or CO2 emissions, that eating lower on the pyramid is more sustainable from that perspective. But I need to say, this is not something I know a lot about. That's why I like having conversations with folks about it, because I communicate with folks who are farmers, but they have small farms, and so they're able to have an environment where they can pay attention to these things. It's the large industrial places that are using up all the resources. And so it's not something that I know a lot about. If somebody wants to do that for their group presentation, that would be terrific. But yeah, my initial reaction is absolutely being a vegetarian is consumes less energy. And yet for some reason, I feel like that might be too easy an answer, but that only reflects my lack of understanding about it. So yeah, I defer to my colleagues in the area. Where do you think you fall in the energy or food pyramid? Are you a primary consumer, primary producer, secondary consumer? What are you? I go back and forth between being a vegetarian and eating meat. So I guess that makes me a primary consumer and a secondary consumer. It depends. So I guess that makes me a secondary consumer if I'm not always. What about y'all? Are your screens freezing like mine? Because either everybody's really slow this morning, not judgment, you're physically moving slowly. Well, given the enthusiasm, I think what I'm just going to do is call it a day. It's Monday. I'm having a Monday morning. I will try to do better. But so starting on Wednesday, we'll begin the GI track. Please communicate with your group members so that you can get me your requests, and whatever errors I have on the syllabus, please stick around and point them out to me, because I want to try to minimize confusion. Any comments before we roll, before I say goodbye? I have these little faces. Well, thank you for your patience this morning. You go now. I'll see you next time when we begin the GI track.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.